What if the trash you throw away could bring your garden to life? In this video from Revive Nature, we explore creative, surprising ways to turn waste into beauty, with real, doable ideas for every kind of garden space. Whether you're working with a tiny patio or a wild backyard, you'll find something inspiring here. Timestamps are available. Jump to what you need. And if anything sparks a question or idea, leave a comment. If this resonates with you, take a moment. Maybe I'm just another voice on the internet. But this video carries something real, made with love, with purpose. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it's not just numbers. It's how a small dream stays alive. Thanks for being here. And thank you for seeing me. In the quiet corners of a backyard, where the grass meets the fence and the breeze carries the scent of marigolds, a rainbow finds its way to the ground, not through the sky, but through painted stones arranged by hand. Each pebble tells a story. Once dull, forgotten, and scattered underfoot, these tiny stones are now vibrant bursts of color nestled between tufts of blooming aster and Japanese anemone. The reds glow like autumn leaves, the blues calm like the evening sky, and the yellows beam like sunflowers in full song. Their transformation didn't come from wealth or fancy tools, but from the simple act of upcycling, a brush, some paint, and the quiet dedication of someone who believed a path could be more than just dirt and stone. This tiny backyard, no bigger than a room, now holds a storybook beneath its visitors' feet. The rainbow path curves gently, inviting wanderers, even if only barefoot children or morning tea cups, to follow it. On either side, soft soil cradles low flower beds where chrysanthemums stand proud, and sedums glisten with dew. The flowers, chosen not just for beauty but resilience, thrive through cool winds and shifting seasons. A bamboo pergola in the distance shades a rustic bench, offering pause. From here, one can watch bees flit between golden blooms, and hear the gravelly crunch of painted stones echo a quiet rhythm. There's no pretense, no perfection, only a handmade harmony of color, scent, and sound. This isn't just a garden path. It's a reminder that even in small spaces and with limited means, beauty can bloom. Trash becomes treasure. Rocks become radiant. And every step through this painted walkway feels like walking through hope itself. In every pebble lies the proof. The smallest touches can make the biggest difference. In the soft light of a late afternoon, where shadows fall gently across a quiet garden, a fence no longer stands in silence. Instead, it sings, in color, in texture, in memory. This is no ordinary fence. Where plain wood once weathered alone, now hangs a gallery of hand-painted stones, each one brushed with care, dotted with daisies, swirled with spirals, or splashed in sun-kissed yellows and garden greens. Between them, upcycled metal blossoms unfold like garden miracles, petals crafted from soda can scraps, stems bent from rusted wire, and centers formed from old bottle caps, all lovingly revived with paint. The stones, though small, hold presence. They seem to glow against the backdrop of aged timber, as if each carried a secret bloom that refused to wilt. The metal flowers, once forgotten pieces of junk, stretch outward with newfound grace. Here, a fork becomes a sunflower. There, a bolt becomes a blooming poppy. Every detail tells a story of hands that refuse to throw beauty away. Below this vibrant vertical garden, a sea of marigolds and chrysanthemums dances in the breeze, nodding toward their handmade cousins on the fence. These move between the real and the replicated, unsure where nature ends and art begins. It's a fence that does more than mark space, it transforms it. In tiny gardens where space is precious and imagination vast, this kind of fence becomes more than boundary. It's invitation. To pause, to smile, to wonder, to remember that art doesn't need galleries, it only needs love, a bit of trash, and a dream of what could be. The metal no longer rusts, it radiates. The stones no longer lie forgotten, they frame moments. And the fence? It no longer divides, but unites nature and nurture, trash and treasure, garden and gallery. Here, in this reclaimed slice of paradise, even a fence can bloom and never fade. Nestled beneath the arching limbs of a flowering bush, where the garden floor stays cool and quiet, a little gathering has taken place, not of birds or bees, but of mushrooms with stories to tell. They are not born of soil and spores, but of forgotten stones and discarded metal. Their caps are hand-painted pebbles, round and smooth, cloaked in reds and creams, dotted like fairy toadstools from an old storybook. Their stems, old pipes, bolts, and rods, rise from the mulch with proud imperfection, holding each cap like a crown. Placed in clusters between asters and moss, they seem to breathe with the garden. The wind moves gently through the ferns nearby, and the scent of marigold drifts in the air. These mushrooms don't grow. They glow, crafted not by nature, but by hands that saw beauty in the overlooked. Children find them first, squealing with delight, imagining gnomes living beneath their tiny roofs. Gardeners pass by and smile, not just at the color, but at the thought that even trash can become charm. That old bolts, once buried in a drawer or rusting in the shed, can rise again as something lovely, something playful, something entirely their own. They are humble. They do not shout for attention, but they earn it. With every glance, they invite a second. They soften hard spaces, brighten shaded corners, and bring a spark of magic where only mulch once lay. And in doing so, they teach. That joy lives not only in bloom and leaf, but also in craft and color. That what we discard may yet find purpose. That whimsy belongs in gardens just as much as order does. In the end, these stone mushrooms are not just decoration. They are moments, captured, created, shared. They are stories told without words, blooming without roots, lasting through every season. There's a gentle line in every garden, where grass ends, where blooms begin, where wild meets design. In this garden, that line is drawn not with bricks or store-bought tiles, but with stories, shaped in stone, sealed in caps. From afar, it's a delightful edge of texture and color. But step closer, and you'll see, every smooth stone is hand-painted, brushed in earthy shades with hints of faded lavender, clay red, and moss green. Nestled between them, rows of bottle caps rise upright like jeweled teeth, each one a burst of color: turquoise, golden yellow, cherry red. Once lost, now lifted, they gleam under sunlight like tiny garden gems. Together, these humble pieces form a border that doesn't just separate, it celebrates. It curves around a bed of chrysanthemums and sedum like a ribbon, guiding the eye while grounding the plants. There's a rhythm to their pattern, a quiet joy in their placement. Each rock and cap has been chosen, cleaned, painted, protected. Each serves a purpose. None are wasted. Children run fingers along the edges, naming the colors like a rainbow. Gardeners crouch beside it, pleased at how something so simple can feel so finished. Visitors ask, "Where did you buy that?" And the answer brings smiles: "I didn't. I made it. From what was already here." This is where garden meets creativity. Where borders are not limits, but frames. Where junk becomes joyful, and the forgotten becomes foundational. These stones may have lined driveways once. These caps may have sealed soda bottles long gone. But here, they hold space for beauty. There's something deeply human in the act, to take what is cast aside and make it useful again. To draw a line not in control, but in care. And so this garden grows, not just with petals and pollinators, but with personality. In this line of bottle caps and painted stone, there's no division, only connection. Between what was and what could be. Between waste and wonder. Between a garden and the soul that shaped it. In a world that moves too fast, the garden offers a place to pause. And in the quietest corner, where wind slows and time softens, there stands a circle of stones, small and silent, yet deeply alive. This is no grand sculpture or towering monument. It is a mini Zen garden, built from fragments the world once forgot. Flat river stones once tossed aside, chipped paving bits, reclaimed rubble. But here, they are stacked with intention, forming soft towers that lean gently into gravity, never fighting it. At their base, raked gravel whispers of mindfulness. Curved lines spiral out like ripples in water, each drawn not for perfection but for peace. Between these lines, a few petals fall from a nearby anemone. They land without a sound and are welcomed as part of the scene. The garden is no larger than a table, yet it holds a world. Around its edges bloom low-growing mums and pots of sedum, chosen for their strength and subtlety. There is no clamor for attention here, only harmony. The colors are quiet, the shapes are simple, the message is clear, beauty lives in stillness. This space doesn't ask for words. It doesn't demand a task. It only offers presence, a space to breathe, to look inward, to feel your feet on the ground and your thoughts settle like dust on calm stone. Visitors pass and linger, drawn not by spectacle but by serenity. Children crouch to trace patterns in the gravel. Elders close their eyes to listen to nothing at all. Even butterflies land gently atop a rock, as if sensing the still energy this place holds. It is crafted from what was discarded, but what it creates is priceless. Peace, pause, purpose, and in that, it becomes more than a decoration. It becomes a refuge. In this garden, the rocks do not speak. But they remind us, silence is not empty, it's full of meaning. Tucked into the corner of a modest backyard, where walls once felt like limits, a spiral begins, quietly, confidently. It rises not in grandeur, but in grace. Stone by stone, curve by curve. A sculpture not built for spectacle, but for soul. Each stone that forms its edge once lay forgotten. Rubble from a broken path. Bits of a wall that no longer stands. Some still bear faint marks of past pain, others show the soft wear of time. Between them, slender strips of salvaged metal wind in and out, painted with cheerful tones, bent gently like vines. The spiral is alive, not with movement, but with color. From its center, golden marigolds reach toward the sun. Higher up, asters bloom in soft purples, while low sedum spills from the spiral's rim like trailing thought. In between, tucked in shaded nooks, grow sage and thyme, leaves scented with memory. There's a reason the spiral feels right here. It doesn't demand space. It creates it. Within its swirl, wild meets order, and trash becomes design. It transforms a forgotten corner into a quiet marvel, the kind of spot that pulls you in without saying a word. Visitors approach curiously. "How did you build this?" they ask, expecting plans, tools, measurements. But the answer is simpler, with what was at hand. Stones gathered, metal saved, flowers planted, not perfectly, but lovingly. Children circle it, counting the twists. Bees find welcome in the blooming centers. And those who sit nearby, on old benches, under pergolas, find peace. It is more than a planter. It is poetry in form. A spiral that reminds us that life doesn't always move in lines. The beauty of this garden corner is not just in what's grown, but in what it's grown from. Nothing here was bought. Nothing here was new. But everything here was chosen. And like the spiral itself, it tells us there's strength in second chances. There's beauty in broken things. And even in the smallest space, with a little care, a garden can turn trash into treasure, and corners into dreams. Beneath the slats of an old pergola, where dappled sunlight dances through tangled vines, a quiet world unfolds, not of birds and bees, but of tiny creatures crafted by hand, resting on stone and soil. They don't move, but they seem to breathe. A red ladybug perches near a blooming aster, its black dots precisely painted, its eyes wide with curiosity. A green frog sits just beyond, half hidden under a fern, its smile forever frozen in mid-hop. Nearby, an owl carved onto a smooth river rock watches with eternal calm, painted in warm shades of brown and gold. Each of these whimsical critters was once just a stone, flat, dull, unremarkable. But with a stroke of a brush, a bit of leftover paint, and the vision of someone who still sees magic in the mundane, they've come alive. Children are drawn here first. They crouch low, pointing and giggling, imagining stories where the turtle guards the flower bed and the fox protects the herbs. Adults pause too, perhaps for longer, not to play, but to remember. To recall a childhood when wonder was easy, and rocks could be anything you imagined. These painted stone creatures do more than decorate. They animate. They spark connection. In a world of fast gardens and pre-made decor, they whisper a gentler truth, that joy is handmade, and often small. Around them, chrysanthemums and anemones bloom. Bees hover. A nearby bench invites tea or reflection. The pergola, wrapped in vines, offers shade and silence. It's a corner not just for seeing, but for feeling. The critters don't speak, but they tell stories nonetheless. Of patience, of craft, of seeing potential where others see waste. And in their silent, smiling way, they ask us to join them, to sit, to notice, to wonder again. In the quiet shade of this pergola, stones have become friends. The garden has become a stage. And imagination, it seems, has taken root and grown. There is a place in the garden where waves never crash, but peace flows like tide. Here, along a winding border between soil and song, the ocean has found its way, not in water, but in color, shape, and spirit. Stones, once dull and gray, now shimmer in soft seafoam, gentle teal, and sandy white. They curve like waves beside garden beds, forming a flowing edge where marigolds nod like drifting buoys. Between them, bits of salvaged metal have taken new life, shaped into coral, sculpted into fish, bent into shells. Once rusting away, now reborn in marine blues and ocean greens. This border doesn't only divide, it transports. To coastal walks and hidden coves. To driftwood mornings and salt-washed skies. To a place where breath slows, and eyes widen in childlike wonder. The garden around it blooms boldly. Tall grasses sway like seaweed. Japanese anemones bloom like sea stars reaching toward the light, and chrysanthemums sparkle with dew like morning tide. Even the bees seem to linger longer here, tracing the curves of painted shells with curiosity. Guests pass by and stop, unsure at first what draws them. Then they see it, not just the art, but the feeling. That someone took time. that trash became treasure. That the sea, even far from shore, can live in a handful of stones and a can of paint. It's not about perfection. Some rocks are chipped. Some metal is bent. But in that imperfection, there's charm. There's story. There's soul. And as the sun lowers, casting golden light across the blues and greens, this border glows, not just with color, but with care. It reminds us that gardens aren't only grown. They're shaped. They're dreamed. They're painted with memory and made with heart. Here, in this tiny space between fence and flower, the sea whispers in every curve. As twilight settles over the garden, something magical stirs along the fence line. Where once there was only wood and shadow, now flickers a trail of color and light, a handmade symphony of stone and flame. It began with a few discarded tin cans. Dented, dull, almost forgotten. But in the right hands, they were pierced and painted, shaped into lanterns that now dangle like tiny stars. Reds, teals, and sunny yellows shine in harmony. By day, they pop against the aged wood. By night, they whisper warmth through the holes carved into their sides, hearts, leaves, swirls of light. Below them, a rainbow of rock stretches like a ground-bound garland. Each stone, carefully painted in rich hues, rests in neat formation along the fence base. Some are speckled, some striped. Others hold tiny patterns like folk art, little surprises for wandering eyes. Together, the rocks and lanterns form a rhythm. A fence no longer just a barrier, but a canvas. A celebration. A message. Fall flowers bloom around them, golden mums nod beneath the lights, asters lean toward the stones, their colors dancing in flickering shadow. The air smells of earth and possibility. The scene is not grand, but it is generous. Neighbors pass by and pause. "Did you make these?" they ask. And when the answer is yes, they smile deeper. Because the beauty isn't just in the final look, it's in the effort. The choice to turn trash into treasure. The decision to create joy where others saw junk. As night deepens, the glow softens. The garden feels held, watched, cherished. This fence, once plain, now holds memories. The rocks speak of quiet afternoons with brushes in hand. The lanterns carry the echo of laughter as holes were punched, fingers smeared with paint. And the light is not just from the candles, but from the care. In this space, nothing is wasted. Not time, not scrap, not a single stone. And as you sit beside it, bathed in flickering color, you remember, it doesn't take much to light the night. Only a little love. And a little imagination. In the quietest part of the garden, where time slows, and the wind carries only the scent of blooms, there lies a circle. Not drawn with pen, but with stone. Not meant for walking, but for seeing, feeling, and breathing. It is a mandala. Not of chalk or tile, but of hand-painted stones, each one laid with patience and meaning. Their colors bloom in a rhythm: dusty lavender, golden ochre, ocean green, deep rust red. Some stones are tiny, like seeds of color. Others are larger, anchoring the design like suns and moons in a sky of soil. At the mandala's edge, marigolds and asters nod with approval. Sedum autumn joy spills gently across the border, softening the transition between earth and pattern. Even the bees hesitate here, buzzing a little slower, as if drawn into the stillness. This isn't just decoration. It's intention made visible. Each rock was chosen, cleaned, painted, perhaps over the course of weeks. Some bear faint swirls, others tiny dots, some gradients like watercolor fading into stone. Together, they form something greater than themselves: balance. Visitors wander into the corner and stop. They don't speak. They don't need to. The mandala invites reflection. To sit nearby. To exhale. To simply be. Nearby, a wooden bench waits in the dappled light. A cup of tea finds its place on the armrest. Children watch in awe. Gardeners rest their tools. This space is no longer just part of the yard. It is the garden's heart. And the stones? They stay silent. But through color and shape, they whisper reminders that beauty is built slowly. That chaos can become calm. That even in the smallest circle, there can be endless meaning. As the day wanes and shadows stretch across the mandala, it continues to glow, not with light, but with love. It needs no electricity, no voiceover. It speaks through its form. A garden mandala made of painted stone is not just a project. It's a pause, a gift, a ritual of color and care. And in this small corner, the world becomes round again.